Hello, and thank you for tuning into the frequency of a new awareness. Today we are going to talk about the institution of marriage. All over the world, marriage is established. And even in the ancient writings, it is said God declared marriage as holy. But when we look today about all these divorces that happen, especially in our Western societies, then I don't think many people declare or consider marriage as holy. So then, why did God declare marriage as holy? Today, we're going to take a look and you will find out what it really means. But first, let me give you an illustration for easier understanding. Now, especially in Europe, you have a lot of old buildings and structures, castles, fortresses, just buildings that are hundreds of years old. And governments put them as historic sites. That means that nobody can tear them down. And if they are going to be renovated, they have to be renovated according to original plans, according to original design, and materials have to be used that were used during that time. So to restore the building in its original form. Why? Because there is a spiritual concept behind these buildings, and that is the architecture. I mean, hundreds of years ago, people built differently, designed differently, used different materials. So the spiritual concept is a design, the idea of the building. Now, if we would tear down all these historical sites and add a few hundred or 1,000 years, we would lose all these concepts, all these designs, all these ways of building these ancient structures. So in order to preserve them, the governments have declared these historic sites as holy. Holy in the form of don't touch them, preserve them. And so now we are enjoying all these historical sites, and we can enjoy the history. We can learn about how they were constructed, how they were designed, how the architecture was back then. So now let's make the comparison. And we say, or God said, the institution of marriage is called holy. Don't touch it. Don't change anything. That's it. Man, woman get married, and this is not to be changed. Why? Because of the spiritual concept behind it. You see, our society all over the world, we have lost the spiritual concept that is behind the physical manifestation of this concept called marriage. So if we would abolish the institution of marriage, we would, in a short period of time, also lose and don't even remember that there is a spiritual concept connected to us. And this spiritual concept is much more important. Because when we know the spiritual concept, the idea behind the physical manifestation, we can replicate it. Just like, for example, in the building, we have no problems tearing down buildings that are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old because we know how to do it. We are using still the same building materials, the same way of design, architecture. It's still quite the same. So there's no problem tearing them down. We don't lose anything because we know how to do it. But we lose the physical institution of marriage, we lose the spiritual concept behind it because we don't know until now. So, what is the spiritual concept behind the institution or the physical expression of marriage? It is a spiritual marriage, also between male and female, but it's energy. Now, let me clarify. When you are born, or let's take me as an example. When I was born as a male. Therefore, the spirit that I was divided. Because in non-physical, in the presence of God, there is no gender. It's genderless. So in order to create male and female, it had to be split. It had to be separated. So in my case, I came with my male energy. What about the female part of me? In order to make it complete, it stayed with the spiritual, with my spirit. So one purpose of life is to reconnect, because the connection is always there. We're just not aware of it. So one of our purposes in life is to become aware that we are A, incomplete, and B, that we need to reconnect with our spiritual part to become complete. Through awareness and then intention, we connect the spiritual me, that is the female energy, and the male energy that I'm here now in physical form, and so I become complete. We marry again, the male and the female energy together, so as a being, I become whole, I become complete. See, does it make sense? So, once we are aware again as a society of the spiritual concept of marriage, do we then still need or have to hold on to the physical institution of marriage? My opinion, no. Because we can replicate it. If I'm getting married, for example, I want to get married to a woman. And after a few years, we find out, well, we don't fit together anymore. Okay. Then just separate and look for a new partner in order to express our love. Because that's what it's all about, expression of love. If we are in a relationship where we cannot or we don't want to express love anymore to our partner, what's the purpose of that relationship? It becomes more of a race of endurance rather than a race of enjoyment. Life is supposed to be filled with love, peace, joy, happiness, compassion, kindness, goodness, all these wonderful things. And if we're in a relationship where this doesn't or cannot be expressed anymore because it's not there anymore, why hold on to it? Because we know the physical and spiritual concept, so we can replicate it. And maybe it's not needed anymore anyways. But that is probably a personal choice, if you want to get married or not. But anyway, now you know the spiritual principle that is connected to the physical institution of marriage. I hope that was helpful, and maybe you are in a relationship that doesn't work out anymore. And so don't feel bad in terminating these marriages, because love triumphs a contract, because that's what marriage nowadays is. You sign a contract of exclusivity. You become the property, basically, of your partner, and love triumphs that. Love stands over everything. Anyway, I hope that was helpful and you to understand the meaning of marriage and why it exists in our society today. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.